Hello, it's Heather Smith and you're listening to Proud Stories Podcast. Today I have a special episode for you, live at the Accounting and Finance Show Asia in Singapore, and my guest co-host is the wonderful Alex Falcon Harata, who you may recall joined me in Newcastle earlier in the year. So it was wonderfully exciting to have her join me in Singapore. And we went around, interviewed a few people that you know, interviewed a few people that you don't know. And it's a really lively podcast. There's lots of intersections of bumping into what's going on actually during the conference. For those of you that don't know, Singapore is an extraordinarily tiny place. It's a tiny country. It's a capital city, but it's also a very tiny country. And there's just so much happening there. There's so much development, and it has so many cultures within Singapore, which brings about just wonderful diversity and sort of wonderful tolerance of other cultures. And it's such an amazing place to visit. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to go back there again. I went there. I do mention that I did go there for the past conference, and I said I think 5 years ago, but it was actually 4 years ago in 2019. And at the time, there was a few of us came across, Wayne Schmidt, Lilette Kalesia, Ainsley Damery, the wonderful Ainsley Damery from the UK, Lynn Lee, and Jodie Pater from the US came over for it. So this time, we had a number of Australians come across. Let's see if I can remember them for you. So Kylie Baxter, who lives down on the Gold Coast, Sarah Lawrence from Sydney, Zach Hayes, who lives down the road from me in Brisbane, Alex Falcon Harata, who is a digital nomad, and I think she flew in from Italy, and Michelle Cavello, I think she came in from Sydney as well. So it was wonderful to be there. Paul Gardner also came in from Hong Kong. And we really had a sensational time. Look, many thanks to the conference organisers, Laura Binns, Raymond Fan, and Gabriel Costa from Terrapin. You know, really appreciative of them in being so hospitable to us. And for me, as I like coordinating panel sessions now, and they kind of just go, okay, fit into this category and you can run the whole show. And they work with me to pick panelists, and they kind of let me drive the whole thing, which I really enjoy, and really allows me to surface an interesting and robust conversation and lots of insights. And I ran 2 panel sessions. Gosh, they were fabulous. I was so happy and delighted with the outcomes of them. And as we were walking around, I had a lot of people come up to me from 2019. And 2019, Sarah Lawrence and I were there, as well as those other people. So Sarah Lawrence, this was her second time back. And so many people came up and said that the talks that we had given then changed the trajectory of their business, of their life. It opened up their minds. And it's wonderful that we can give back to the community by sort of going to other countries and doing that. But saying that, Singapore is moving at a very rapid pace. They have a lot of businesses there, a lot of people there. And the government is very focused on digitalisation. Even if you think for the micro business, such as a hawker stall that's just selling something as simple as chicken rice, putting out a QR code and allowing you to purchase that way. So they're really trying to, just at the very low level all the way through to the more in-depth level, push that digitalization. There's a lot of grants and support from the government. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it changes people's mindset. So a number of people told me that grants came out, and when the grants fall away, people actually go off the online solution and back into spreadsheets, which is shocking, isn't it? So that is interesting and something to be explored. I also caught up with the wonderful people at the ISCA stand, Mitchell, Brenda and Gabriel, so that was wonderful. And look, I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the businesses that I speak with in the next podcast, so you can kind of plan what's going to happen. Speak with Grab for Business, HSBC Life, the Singapore Chartered Accountants, Finmo, Blue Sheets, Kevin Fitzgerald from Employment Hero, Koren Wines, MD at Xero. Funnily enough, Kevin was the prior MD at Xero. The wonderful Zach Hayes, Carbon Balance, and an organisation called Careera. So really hope you enjoy the energy from this podcast. It was all quite... there was so much adrenaline. It was so emotional. There were so many different people coming up to us and talking with us, and we had some great sessions. And a lot of people reached out to me as we were there and wanted to be involved next year. So I would highly encourage it. I love Singapore. So the people to get in contact with are Laura Binns, Raymond Fan and Gabriel Costa. Interestingly enough, I'm going to throw this one out there. A lot of people on the stage talked about Dext, but Dext weren't there as vendors. So that was it. That was interesting. So people are there but weren't there as well. So that was interesting. Dext is our optical character recognition solution, and I know that during one of my talks with someone, they talked about moving from OCR to ICR, which is intelligent character recognition. So I thought that was interesting. So I hope you enjoy the podcast, and let me know what you think of it. Hopefully I've had to rush to edit it because life's a bit hectic at the moment. I'm off to Las Vegas tomorrow to go to the NetSuite conference. So I only flew in, I think, yesterday maybe from Singapore. So I've tried to get this wrapped up and ready for you, for your enjoyment, so you can sort of enjoy this, and hopefully maybe it inspires you to have a tiger bear, some chicken rice, some the sweet tea that they have. Tehaha, I think, I've probably spelled that wrong. But what it is pool tea, and it's quite a animated performance when they make it. It takes they need around a 2 meter space to make this tea, and it's made with condensed milk. So that's quite interesting. But I did put lots of photos up on social media, as did many of the other people who were there. So maybe go and have a look at them and see if it inspires you to have a sort of a working and vacation in Singapore next year. Thank you. Hi. Heather Smith here, and I'm very excited to be in Singapore at the Accounting and Finance Show Asia 2023, and I'm here with Alex Falcon-Hirata. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Heather. How are you doing?
Very excited to have you back here again on the show, and last time we did this was in Newcastle, Australia, so we're making a bit of a habit of this, aren't we?
I know, absolutely love it, and I'm very excited to be going around to speaking to people with you.
Yeah, no, really looking forward to it. So I spoke here at the Singapore show 5 years ago, and they have doubled the number of vendors since then.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It is amazing. I think there's 40 people in Startup Alley, so they're smaller vendors, but they've still doubled it, so they've done really well with that.
I mean, to me, it's really good to be in Singapore and get to know different app partners and technology partners, because it means if they're new to me, I don't know them, and it means I have an opportunity to get to know what they do.
And it's kind of midday first of the first day here. And what is really exciting is just the diversity of perspective, of culture, of country, even the actual technology devices people are using. WhatsApp, Androids, iOSs,
Telegram, WeChat.
Telegram, yeah, absolutely. And knowing that if you are doing business with someone, you may have to communicate in different ways to them.
Yeah, exactly. There are many ways, but the fact is they're very, very open to ways of communicating and all the different technologies, and you can see that they are very passionate about making that change.
Yeah. And what's interesting also about Singapore is they're very focused on, there's a lot of government grants available and accessible. So, how should we tackle this? Should we go to one corner and see what takes our interest?
Yeah.
And then sort of start walking through?
Sounds like an amazing idea.
So I've already spoken at one session this morning, which was on accounting apps and app advisory. And you've got a session later today, which is being a digital nomad, which is a sensational session as well.
Yeah, very excited to talk about that.
Okay, so here is our first people. Hello, we're from the Cloud Stories podcast, and we wonder if we could interview you on the show. Can you share your name and the company that you're from?
My name is Namrata, and I am with Grab, specifically a subdivision of Grab called Grab for Business.
And what does the company do?
Have you heard about Grab?
No.
No, okay. So we are one of Southeast Asia's largest ride-hailing, payments, food delivery app. And the division that I represent is Grab for Business, which means that we offer corporate solutions of Grab that they can actually use for their company. So, for example, when you come here, you're probably taking a taxi. Mm-hmm. Yes? Okay. And you're going to put that claim back into your company and claim that back, right? And at the end of the month, it's a hassle because I'm stuck with like multiple claims that I need to put in, and I've got paper receipts, I've got lots of emails that I need to take snapshots too. So what our solution does is that it says bye-bye to all of that. And we give you, it's a SaaS-based platform, and we give you a dashboard wherein you can access any claim that your employee has made. And for the employee purpose, all they have to do is they just have to toggle and say that, hey, this is not a personal trip, this is a business trip. Anything that they tag as a business trip gets automatically recorded with all of the details, anything for audit purposes on the back end. And the employee on their end, they don't need to pay for it upfront. If the company chooses, it can be centrally invoiced to the company directly. And we offer this not just for transport, but also for food. So let's say I'm working overtime and I'm eligible for a meal. Let's say I'm eligible for $20, right? And instead of me again ordering and claiming that back, I can just say that, okay, this order is a business order. And my company can put in the limit. If I'm below the limit, it gets automatically billed to the company, the entire amount. If I'm above, my limit amount gets billed to my company. Anything above that, I just top up and I pay myself.
That was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you so much. Do you have any more questions?
I mean, I absolutely love that.
Excellent.
It's brilliant. I want to order food now.
We're going to send you an email.
What countries do you work in?
So we work in all of the 8 ASEAN countries, so which is Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, and Cambodia. And it's the same app that works all across.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Alex?
No, that's it for me. I think you explained everything.
Thank you so much, Heather. It was a pleasure.
How do people get in contact with you? Just like Grab for Business?
Grab for Business.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Literally covered everything.
Very good. Like, at least she knew what she was doing. Hi. We're from the Cloud Stories podcast. Is anyone can talk to us? Yeah. How can we help? So we're on the podcast.
Right.
Can you share with us what your name is and what your organisation does?
Yeah, I'm from HSBC Life. My name is Delphine Lewadi, and this is my first time here actually.
At the conference.
At this conference, it's really amazing, and we can get a lot of people and to connect and to I think it's a good one. So it's very interesting. Yes.
And so, what should conference organisers know about your solution? Sorry, not organisers, attendees. What should conference attendees know about your solution?
Okay, we do employee benefits here because actually it's very related to the accounting and the finance. Usually, the accounting and the finance, they are actually also managing HR.
Yes.
So human resource, one of the very important thing, which is very, very important for the employees, is actually the employee benefits. And it's actually a way to have this connect to them and have retention as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And one more thing, sorry, to add on. We have this employee benefit, which is very good because today is actually the World Mental Health Day. Yeah, today on the 10th of October is actually World Mental Health Day. And actually, in fact, we have this part whereby actually is to manage the mental health for the employees as well.
which is very important. Very important.
Yes,
dealing with the overwhelm.
Wow, to be honest, when we walked over here, I thought we were speaking to the bank. So I was really pleasantly surprised when you said it was to do with HR and, to make sure that you have well-being in a business.
This is one of the HSBC live direction, because we actually are managing, we actually provide solutions, all financial solutions, to protect their finances and to grow their wealth as well. So actually, everything we do in finance, we are here for them.
And what countries is it offered in?
Singapore.
Singapore.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent.
Do you know if they have plans to operate in other countries?
Well, HSBC is global.
Yes.
But we do in local, because we actually support and for the local as well. Yeah, but for global, we actually got coverage for global as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So, welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Can you share who you are and what the organisation is that you're representing today?
Okay, so my name is Julian. I'm the head of marketing communications at the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants. So we are a national accounting body in Singapore. We have been established for about 60 years, so we're celebrating our 60 years this year. We have about 34,000 members. And
34,000 members. Is that based in Singapore or are they working internationally?
most of them are in Singapore. I would say about 99% are in Singapore. And we have some members overseas, quite a number. So what we do is we actually have overseas chapters that serve on the members' needs overseas as well. So this year alone, we've set up 10 chapters. So we have a chapter in Hong Kong, Philippines, China, Korea, Japan, etc.
Very good, very good. And do you have memorandums of understandings or relationships with other accounting associations?
Yes, we do. So we do have this mutual recognition agreement with our fellow chartered accountant bodies. So there's
ICAEW?
ICAEW, definitely. We also have ICA, so that's the Scottish one. We have the one with the Irish. Of course, with CANS. The
CAANZ.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. And
So I'm a
we've actually-
CAANZ as well.
Awesome, that's great.
Yeah.
We even have just recently signed an MRA with CPA Australia. So that's a bit different. It's not direct.
That's a
but
bit controversial.
It is, but we're all doing this for the good of accounting, right?
Okay. No, absolutely. The ACCA people just walk by as well. They're like, what is happening?
Yeah. So they keep asking us, when are we gonna do that MRA as well?
Yeah. Should we have a talk about that now?
Maybe.
That's fantastic. Is there any questions you have, Alex?
So do you have plans to globalise?
Absolutely. So internationalization is definitely big part of our plan. So that's why we set up 10 chapters just this year, and we're going to set up even more.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Look, I think Singapore is the hub of so much, so I think you've just got amazing opportunities ahead of you. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Cloud Stories
My
podcast.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Can you share with us who you are and what company you represent?
Yeah, sure. My name is David Hanna. I'm the CEO of Finmo, which is a payments company based in Singapore. So we focus on treasury management and essentially helping merchants move money around the world.
Can you explain to our audience a bit more what you mean? I understand treasury, but just make sure that they understand what you mean by treasury.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a lot of merchants have different bank accounts situated all around the world. I think getting visibility of their cash reserves in those different bank accounts, all in sort of a one-stop portal that allows you to do reconciliation, cash flow management, look at your accounts receivable, payables, and also sort of move money, right? So access to real-time payments, FX capability is what we sort of focus on.
Why did you found out of Singapore?
So from a regional perspective, I think you've got to be based in Singapore if you want to really kind of work with merchants all around the region. For us, we've spent the last 2 years getting regulated as a major payment institution. And we find that, from a regulatory perspective, it's quite a forward-thinking market. So setting ourselves here in Singapore, I think, was a pretty positive step for us.
Any questions?
Yeah, so dealing with foreign currency,
Yep.
obviously there's been a lot of uncertainty in the recent months. What other services do you offer around currency risk?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, and that's where the whole treasury management comes into the scheme of things, right? So having a dedicated platform where you can manage your foreign currency risk. So for example, with fluctuations around local exotic currencies, having visibility of how much you hold from different bank accounts all around the region, I think is really important to our merchants. So we help them by providing that real-time visibility and access in order to mitigate that FX risk.
What other countries are you going to work in?
So we're headquartered in Singapore, licensed in Singapore. We have offices in New Zealand, Australia. We're also regulated as an MSB in the US. And we're expanding into Europe as an EMI, electronic money institution in Europe. We also work across Philippines and Thailand, and we're looking at Hong Kong and Indonesia. So there's a bit on our plate at the moment.
Wow, cool. So I'm from the UK. Will we be seeing you at the UK conferences?
Yeah, potentially.
Well, that is impressive solution and impressive growth and vision that you've got there. So thank you. How can people get in contact with you?
Finmo.net.
Oh my goodness, there is a receipt has just walked by us.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Okay, cheers, guys.
I've not seen a receipt.
Yeah, no, that's quite weird. Yeah.
I'm finding that there are loads of payment platforms in the foreign currency industry setting up.
Yes.
So we're going to have multiple options, whereas only a few years ago we had one or two. So for me it's amazing, especially when I'm transacting internationally on a regular basis.
Yeah, yes. Well, it keeps it more competitive, keeps the interest in there. Oh my goodness, he's making crepes.
Nice.
Did you know about the crepes? There's a waffle maker behind us and a crepe maker in front of us. So they're very much feeding us here in Singapore.
I really like the Singapore.
And they're giving out bananas there as well. Should we chat with these guys?
Yeah. So I really like the Singaporean conference because they feed you waffles and crepes and sweet tea.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It absolutely is amazing. Hello and welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Can you give us your name?
My name is Darius.
And what company are you working with?
I'm in a company called Blue Sheets. We are a automation software.
And what does it do? What does Blue Sheets do? What do we need to know about Blue Sheets?
Yeah, so to put it simply, we take unstructured data, so data from things like receipts and like your bank statements, and we extract the data from there and put it into your desired output, right? So things like Xero software, we can actually extract the data out from Xero software and then put it back into the Xero software as well. So we extract the data, the important data that you want. Things like handwritten documents can be extracted as well. So specifically, if you want like the name and only the date to be extracted, we can actually do that.
So you're an optical character recognition solution?
Yeah, not exactly. So OCR is the base of the solution. but in actual fact, we are actually called Intelligent Document Processing. So we are more ICR, which is Intelligent Character Recognition. Yeah.
I like this.
Ooh. Someone actually posted a question on Reddit Accounting in the last 2 days asking for this exact solution.
Yeah.
So go and search for it. You can say it's us. It's us.
Of course, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you so much. You ladies look wonderful.
Thank you.
What countries do you operate in?
So right now we are headquartered, of course, in Singapore. We are expanding aggressively in the Southeast Asia region.
Mm-hmm.
We are also we also have presence in Australia as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course we have up to 75 languages and currencies. So you can think about like the Thailand is a industry that we are going after as well. The China market as well is somewhere we can do.
That's a big market if you can get in. Yeah.
And the beauty of our product is that it is agnostic to any industries, right? Any industries, any department can use us. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, amazing. So if I wanted to use the product, then how do I get something like this up and running, and where do I start?
Yeah, so it's a plug-and-play solution. It's a SaaS software. So you can just go to our website, bluesheets.io, and you will be able to download the free trial. Yeah, so you can actually process or automate up to 5 documents, and anything above that you can go for the base package, which is $99 USD. And if you're looking at 1,000 or 2,000 documents a month, there is actually specific packages that we can help you to come up with.
And is there a need to integrate with like a middleman like Zapier with your product?
No, don't need to.
Ooh,
yeah,
good
you can work.
question.
Yeah, there's no requirements for any integration, right? You can use us directly. We have a app that you can actually scan documents directly into the software. Yeah.
So I remember you were at XeroCon because they were famous for their badges. Everyone kept saying, go and get the blue sheet badges. I was trying to think, how did I know of your name? So that I got you a badge, Alex, that says best accountant ever.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I love that. We should have one each.
You guys are tax season survivors.
Oh, wow, 100%.
No, I'm a tax failure. You might have survived it. I barely survived it. How can people get in contact with you, Darius?
Yeah, sure. So the easiest way is just to go to our website, bluesheets.io. You can schedule a demo with us, no obligations demo. Or we have the QR code here that you can scan. Come to our booth, you can scan our QR code.
Oh, not on the podcast.
Oh, not on the podcast, yeah. Go to our website and schedule a demo with us. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Darius, for your time.
Enjoy your time here.
Thank you so much.
The employment hero caricaturist is here. Can we queue up for it now? We can do it now? We have to... Oh, we've got a queue. Okay, so we've got to start getting this queue. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because he's going to take 3 minutes.
I am definitely queuing up for this.
So he's a caricaturist and he takes 3 minutes and he's going to draw a face on the cup.
Wow.
So we're at Employment Hero, and I kind of thought that this was going to be the most wildest swag at the conference, which is a caricaturist drawing a face on a mug. But we've passed crepes, mini golf. We've passed people dressed as a receipt. I have to get a photo of the person dressed as a receipt. It's so out of the box, isn't it?
I'm finding, like, even people holding the boards up, explaining what they do, so you can follow them around, even back to their stand.
Yes.
That's the first time I've seen that.
And such a smart idea. Just sort of get some, just get some people, put a backpack on them and get them walking around. Always get in some colour. See if we get some pink on ours. So we're in a queue waiting for people to get in here. When you come here, we're going to start recording you, Kevin. we're gonna multitask and stand in the caricaturist queue and interview Kevin Fitzgerald.
Hello to you both, and all the listeners, which I don't know who you are yet, but hello. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, we're very excited to be with you here. Kevin is well known to the podcast and currently representing Employment Hero. But before we start talking about what you're doing in Employment Hero, a lady came up to me today and she goes, "That interview you did with Kevin changed my life."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did we say?
It was
That's
on the...
good. That gave me the shivers. I'm like, oh my God. That's,
Yeah, so that was, we did a podcast on the 20 trends changing, the shifting the way people work.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and just
Wow.
wonderful. Just the simple explanation changed. We're getting so that was lovely.
That's quite an interactive podcast, photographs and everything.
So Kevin, share with us, for our listeners who don't know who you are and who are going to go back and listen to that podcast, who you are and who you're working for at the moment.
Oh, who I am. We could be here for hours after
We
that.
can
But
be.
I'll
We're
try
in
and give
this
you.
queue.
I'll try and give you a snippet. Well, I grew up in Ireland and I started my ISCA studies in 1999.
Ooh.
And in this year, I'm 20 years qualified. Yeah, how's that? So I was quite young when I qualified.
Congratulations.
And my first job for 5 years was working in an SME accounting firm. I chose not to go into Big Four because I was like, it doesn't sound like me. So I worked with SMEs for 5 years and then I went to an audit firm. And then I left pretty quickly because I lost the interaction with SMEs and clients. So I continued to work as an accountant for 12 years. I then moved to Australia, where I joined a recruitment agency where I recruited accountants into financial services in Australia for years. And then I found Xero in 2015, and then I started. So I went from being an accountant to helping clients find accountants to selling accounting software, and I was with Xero for 7 years. So I led sales in Australia, and then they moved me up to Singapore to open the business in Asia late 2017. And when I came here, nobody knew what Xero was, like no one. And so we had a really tough job of explaining to people that we weren't Xerox. We did a big partnership with one of the banks in Singapore, so people automatically thought we were a banking product. And it's been a fascinating journey, like digitising SMEs with the help of the government. The government in Singapore are absolutely incredible in terms of the funding they put behind it. Very driven. And yeah, I stayed with Xero as the managing director of Xero Asia for 4 years, and then I had this bug inside me where I kind of felt like I had learned a lot about accounting and accounting tech, and I wanted to get into payments. So I went to a payment startup, which unfortunately didn't work out. And then I caught up with the Employment Hero team at the AFShowAsia show last year, and we started speaking around what they were doing in Asia, and suddenly a coffee turned into a contract, and now I'm here leading the region. So I don't know if that's a lot about me. I've got a 2-year-old boy. His name's Buddy. He's a legend. So he keeps me busy the moment I'm not working.
That's wonderful. And isn't it amazing how conferences have that intersection of opportunities that you weren't even looking for, but a spark of conversation happens?
I find conferences are absolutely incredible. I learn something all the time. I have a bit of a routine. I come in early in the morning, I walk around all the stands when they're a bit empty, I see what people are saying, what they're doing, and you start to have conversations. And the great thing then is, you start to identify opportunities, right? You're piecing things together, you're speaking, you're hearing different perspectives, and it's actually a learning opportunity, right? And for me, I'm always nervous. Am I falling behind? Am I missing something? Is our business missing something? And it's so hard to keep up with technology. The big thing is AI, but I've actually noticed there's not many people here talking about AI.
Yeah, that's
not
interesting.
Not yet. Right?
Wait until tomorrow.
I better go to your speech. But I was kind of expecting to be overloaded with it. So maybe people are still trying to figure out, is it still in its hype phase? What does it actually mean? It's the term AI just means a million different things.
Yes. Yeah. And it's been around a long time.
Of course it has,
and it keeps evolving, and everyone keeps saying, it's just arrived, but it hasn't just arrived.
It hasn't just arrived. We have it in our platform. It does some really neat things. I still think it's really early days, you know. Yeah. So I wonder, are SMEs not embracing it yet? Because when they come here, they're not going to see it, right? Like
No.
they see it in the news, they hear people talking about it, but it's not really out there just yet.
No. And maybe that's other conferences are driving a theme and a topic.
Yeah, they're kind of selling the sizzle a little bit,
Yes,
you know?
yeah. Now, tell us what Employment Hero does.
So Employment Hero is an all-in-one platform that encompasses payroll, HRIS, and employer of record. So for people who don't know what employer of record is, we have entities set up in over 100 countries so we can hire talent on behalf of our clients. And we've seen an explosion in that space since COVID, and even pre-COVID it was previously a service that lawyers and corp sec firms provided. But basically it de-risks a business from having to set up an entity in a country they're not familiar with the rules, regulations. They might not have a local director, bank account. They don't know the financial statement requirements. So we look after all that stuff, and then we charge a fee on their behalf. Yeah.
It's so exciting, isn't it, Alex? How many solutions are here that are offering this multi-country option, isn't it?
That's what I'm finding, actually, that they do offer to other countries, which when you're in other countries and their conferences, it's usually localized.
It's just so focused and localized.
And it's a part of our platform that we offer, but effectively where we see clients actually on board into Employment Hero is because payroll and HR has historically been separate on two different platforms. Like if you walk around today, you'll probably see 7 payroll providers, but you won't find anyone that's here just doing HR on their own, and you won't find anyone else that's doing payroll and HR together. And it comes back to the system of records, right? Like you guys are accounting experts. The system of record, the general ledger in one place. Like with the way we think about it is, why is the employee system of record not in one place? Why is it in a payroll system and a HR system? And we just bring it all together. So we think about employment more from the employee life cycle, the day they join the company, how do you onboard and what's the experience, what about the paperwork, what about their performance, their goals, their one-to-ones, their peer reviews. That's all housed in the system. And payroll effectively is incredibly complex, but it is an engine. And if the engine works, then it works. You know, it's not that exciting, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because we were talking earlier about the solution that Employment Hero offers, and I was in the middle of implementing a solution for my company in Sri Lanka, and we need to be able to keep track of the staff, their training, or their HR, or their one-to-ones, etc. But also we need to invite clients into the interview process. Plus, we then need to know that it's going to pull through into like our other systems. So, talking of Employment Hero and all the integrations that you have and everything that you can offer, like it's just all in one place.
Yeah, and like the big win for the client and the staff is visibility, right? Like visibility over what they're working on, what they're focused on, the process of hiring. Like it's really important to give a candidate a great employment experience. Will I take this?
Yeah.
Like it is really important to give candidates a great hiring experience because it's the first impression of the company. You know, like say you do an interview, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later you start, you're kind of hoping that experience from the interview continues.
Yeah.
But imagine you come through the door on the first day or log in and it's really crap.
It's like the whole process. So in terms of, I'm not saying this is a new area, but it's something that I have recognised with a lot of my clients and also with my the business that I'm transforming now, is most people have it all manual. And they interview people and they put it on a spreadsheet and whatever it is that they need to do to bring all the data together. And then they might not necessarily have a HR tool because they think they're not big enough. But then when you come to actually deal with all of the admin work, that there is so much. So it's looking to transform from manual to digitalization, but also taking all of that data, so it's all in one place, but making it look professional from a client perspective, from an employee perspective, and the brand of the company.
Yeah.
So you want to look professional, and that's why I was looking at Employment Hero myself.
Yeah. It's you nailed it on the head. The digital experience is it's an expectation of candidates and staff because, look, they might come from like a slightly younger generation, but they're using technology everywhere. So what happens if they join your company and they're like, hey, why do you not have tools? Like, this is weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have a different expectation, and I think you have to align to what they expect.
Yeah.
And you mentioned brand of your company. SMEs struggle to hire people, right? Like, a lot of people want to work for a bigger company, they think it's safer, but in reality, like a candidate or an individual can learn way more than an SME because they're getting exposed to all the different departments quicker, they understand the mechanics of a business, and then that's the development they should be looking for, especially in their early career.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking to implement it, because I want to give them an awesome experience when they join. So there's obviously a lot of HR payroll platforms available. Why would somebody come to Employment Hero?
I think it actually comes down to trust, right? Like, I've been, you look at the tech winter and all the changes over the last few years, and a lot of startups have unfortunately failed. Now, I'm a big fan of startups. Like, it pushes everybody, it's exciting. But with payroll and employee data, like, taking a risk to go with a cheaper competitor who's a startup, you need to be ISO certified. You need to have all the cyber security. Like, we spend $40 million on security.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
But we have to give our clients confidence that their employee data is safe. And it is becoming a big thing. Like, you've seen, I think it's been on the news in Australia over breaches in platforms. It's one thing about having a breach on customer data, but if it's employee data also, that can really affect the morale in the company, and it's really risky.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be sharing that information.
No. And also, you don't want to get your employees' payroll wrong. Yeah?
No, exactly. So in terms of people get in touch, how do people get in touch with you guys?
They can find us on LinkedIn, they can find us on employmenthero.com, they can find our people on LinkedIn. We're basically, anytime you pop online, you'll find us.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us on the Cloud Stories podcast. We really loved having you on the show.
Well, can we just note for the listeners that Heather just got a caricature made? Yeah, so you have to put that up as a photo.
Thank you very much, Employment Hero, and Alex is about to get hers done too.
Thanks, folks. Great seeing you.
It's great seeing you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So much fun. Thank you.
It's okay.
Welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast, Koren. Thank you for being here. Can you share with our listeners who you are and just who you work for?
Yes, so my name is Koren. I'm the Managing Director for Xero Asia.
We're very excited to have you on the show. I know that you started in Singapore, was it 3?
So I moved here in January, but I started in the role last year in June. So I'm over a year into this role now. My goodness, how time flies.
That's amazing. Singapore is one of my favourite places. What have you discovered in the last year of working here and trying to roll out digital cloud technology?
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we were just talking about before, Heather, Singapore is so advanced in terms of its digitalisation journey. The government is driving this amazing initiative called Smart Nation, and leading by example. It's already digitalised 99% of its processes internally. So they are leading the way and then saying to businesses and consumers alike, you need to now follow, you need to digitalise. And when you have a government that is leading like that, we were just talking to the IMDA, which is a government body it's their sole purpose is to manage that digitalisation process and the initiatives that they're kind of rolling out. When you have a government driving that kind of digitalisation and a population that listens to that government as well, which is a little bit different to Australia, they don't ask questions, they get on the boat, they move forward. So we are seeing incredible movement here, and they're leading the way for Asia as well, not just for Singapore itself. And I love Singapore too. I know you've lived here before. It's just such an amazing city to live in, and I think that digitalisation journey is a massive part of it.
Absolutely. I think Singapore always sets itself up to be the future, and to always lead the way for all of Asia, being a very clean, look, there are rules, but a very sort of an orderly country, but trying for the best for their community. So this conference I think is one of the most important accounting conferences happening in the world.
I agree. And it's attracting people from all over Asia. And I would say, agree
All
with
over
you.
the world. We've got UK here.
Oh, yes, well, you do. Sorry. Apologies. All over the world. I take that back. It is. And you do welcome people into this amazing, clean and safe city. And I agree with you when you say there are rules. And I often get asked, but why would you want to live somewhere that has these kind of strict rules? And maybe you got asked this kind of thing when you were living here. And I can't understand why you would want to live anywhere else. It's so amazing to be able to live your life without looking over your shoulder. Not that we live, Australia is or the UK. It's not a particularly dangerous place to live, but it's genuinely so safe here. It's so clean. It's just such a beautiful place to live and do business. And if you aren't allowed to spit chewing gum on the ground or hang out in big groups after 10 o'clock, I think that's a small price to pay for.
Yeah. And one of the things listeners may not be aware of, there are sort of 4 distinct cultures, but there's a lot of different religious beliefs, and they all
live harmoniously.
Yes. There's a street with a synagogue, a mosque, a church, and they all work together, which is kind of, to me, what religion should be about.
And the true sense of multiculturalism. It
Absolutely.
really is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree. It's a fantastic place to live like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions, Alex?
So you were talking about the pace of change for digitalisation.
Yes.
And just compared to the other markets, do you see that they've moved, even though it's come over a bit later, do you see that they've moved quicker than other markets?
So I would say, and we were having this conversation yesterday, I would say it's really diverse and really broad. So you see, we have a lot of micro SMEs in Singapore. So you guys have been to the hawker markets. You know them well, Heather. You've been there. We've all got chicken and rice for $9 or $6 or $3. So those micro SMEs, an example, often they're older generations. They're subsidised by the government. They're much slower to move on that digital journey. For them, paying by QR code, that's their digitisation journey, and that's probably about as far as it will go. And then you've got at the other extreme, you've got these super advanced firms and businesses that, have adopted, I think Siraj was telling us before, I want that data, but 4 to 6 apps that they've already got in their app stack, and they're well on the journey at looking at where they can optimise and move their businesses along that journey, and are continuously refining and getting the productivity and efficiency benefits that you get out of that digitisation journey. You've got them at the other extreme. It's really broad, which makes it almost impossible to deliver a keynote like I did before, where I have to try and have something to say for absolutely everybody. And it sounds like it really is quite different to the UK and possibly to Australia as well, where it's almost like everybody moving as a bit of a monolith, and so people do tend to get left behind, if they're not quite at that point. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It is interesting, like saying keynote needed to touch everyone, and sometimes I think you have to touch some people, and sometimes you can't grab everyone.
You can't. I agree. Yeah, no, it is impossible. I could see a lot of heads nodding and some faces that were just deadpan. So hopefully something that I had to offer, like the 3 waves of the digital journey, can provide, sometimes it can be really hard, especially when you're at that early end, is just, where the heck do I start? Where do I start? And so for those that are early on the journey, I think it's probably more important for them to hear, how do I get started? And that 3-wave journey, start with adopt cloud accounting. It can really help you just eat an elephant, which is what it feels like. And they don't necessarily understand that term. I've had some very confused faces when I've been like, eat an elephant, and they're like, hang on. But yeah.
I gave a talk in Houston about 5 years ago on behalf of Xero. They all helped me organise the talk.
Yes.
And the lady afterwards came up to me, and she's a lovely lady, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what level they were on, and the talk you gave was just so far ahead of where they were." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then she contacted me months and months later and said her contingent who went to that talk have shifted so much faster than anyone else.
Amazing.
And I didn't know. I'm just like pitching what I would typically pitch, and
you were instrumental in showing them. That's probably the best way to get a whole bunch of people to move is to show them where they should be, if you know what I mean.
Open their minds up.
Exactly, to what's possible and where they could be, and what a little bit of that competitive edge as well. Like, this is where other people are. You know, if you're not here, why aren't you here? And what's stopping you from getting along that journey without sort of, offending them, just sort of showing them what's possible. I agree.
Singapore have a word called kaisu, which is sort of very much about competitive and more, isn't it?
I don't know that word. I'm embarrassed to say. But you were here for 3 years, I think you said, and I have been so. My challenge is to now. I learned shiok,
which is wonderful.
Yes, wonderful. Which means tasty. Which means all of these kind of good things. Yeah. But I don't know that word.
No. Well, they always wanted to be the head. Get ahead and very competitive. And I'm surprised that sometimes I don't see a lot of that energy of competitiveness.
Yeah.
They seem happy, but I'm just sort of moving ahead.
I think you have no choice but to be competitive, especially in a post-COVID world. I mean, especially with digital disruption like AI coming onto the scenes and things like that. It is fiercely competitive in Singapore, even if you don't see it. It's not a competitive culture in terms of the people, but if you can't survive in an environment like this with your business, if you can't adopt new technologies, keep moving forward, if you can't be competitive, businesses are still going out of, especially in hospitality, which is absolutely brutal. And I think this is all over the world, right? It is a brutal industry, and you see them just turning over really regularly. So you have to find ways to be competitive, whether it's in their nature as humans or not. It is fiercely competitive, and probably that digital adoption is a product of that, without having to be competitive, in individual dynamics. You can absolutely be competitive by, harnessing, technology to drive your business forward and making sure that you're staying ahead against your competitors.
For the accountants and advisors who are sitting, and bookkeepers and accountants and advisors and bookkeepers who are sitting outside of Asia, do you think they should be looking into Singapore? Do you think they are opportunities for them to leverage here?
Absolutely. So I think, like I said before, Singapore is a bit of a gateway to Asia, and it's actually quite rare that we find that we have partners of Xero that only have clients in Singapore. A lot of the time they have clients in other places. There's a big presence of networks of firms here and things like that, and that's because a lot of the time you might be an expert in terms of everything Singapore, but you're not necessarily in Malaysia or in Indonesia moving all across the globe. And so actually I think look to Singapore not just for how the government is driving things and that digitalisation, but also how you can work together and you can partner with other firms to be the experts to help you build your business in other parts of the world and provide equally those opportunities back for the partners here. Australia, whether it's the UK, there are massive opportunities to form alliances and to be able to provide those cross-border, take advantage of cross-border opportunities.
Absolutely. Any more questions for you?
So Heather did a panel session earlier, and one of the panelists quoted, "I hate Xero."
Oh, you're kidding?
And I looked and I thought, wow, I was totally taken back. But he finished off with, because it removed our debits and credits. It took accountants absolutely years to learn how to do debits and credits and think about it the right way, which is the right way around. And then Xero comes along and it's like, we don't need to think about that anymore. So I completely understand where he's coming from. And that's probably why people don't want to change, because it's taken away all of our processes in our minds of what we have to do on a daily basis. I found it really hilarious. I was taken back. So I guess it's like the future is we don't need to have and learn all of that manual side. So, well, to some degree. So what are your thoughts about other exciting things that Xero are doing now so we don't have to think about the next part?
Yeah, so what's coming up? Look, there's a couple of things I just want to say about that, because I actually went to, and honestly, I'm very interested. When people say something like that, I'm very interested, whether it's a genuine, dislike of Xero or whether it's something that they feel is, a threat. And I think AI is a really good example of how everybody's kind of feeling about, a technology that's coming along and changing what they'll do, if you know what I mean, and how do you harness it and leverage it. And I think Xero is a really good example of where that's happened in the past. I went to the ACCA conference recently and sat next to someone from the London School of Business, and he didn't know who Xero was. And I sort of said, well, really? Yeah, I was quite surprised too. Heather's making a face of what? And after chatting to him, he was very old school. He was like, no, this is the way that we do, this is the way that we teach, and all of I was like, you don't use any of the software in any of your learning, and he said, no, we don't do it. And we had this whole conversation about it. I said, there is a massive opportunity here, and I think it's being missed to disrupt education. So yes, you have to learn the debits and I think the basics and the understand. You have to learn how to do it no matter what. But then ultimately, I think this is what's holding the accounting profession back in a lot of ways. I don't think that kids coming through university want to sit down and do those kinds of things anymore. I think it's why there are fewer applicants to go into these kinds of university courses, and that lack of desire to go into the accounting profession. Tax and debits and credits is not that exciting. But if you actually harness technology and look at what Xero uses AI in a whole bunch of places, and will continue to deliver and to disrupt and try and automate anything that is boring, repetitive, all of the stuff that actually kids don't want to do. So rather than trying to hold on to the debits and credits, how can you kind of embrace what's coming through, the technology that's coming through? If you tell kids you get to use AI, bleeding edge technology, you get to spend time with clients and understand their business and explain to them how they can harness technology for their business, that's so much more appealing than debits, credits and tax. And he ended the conversation, he kind of pushed back a little bit, he ended the conversation with saying, yes, he agrees that, the brand of accounting, if you know what I mean, is damaged. And he said that they used to have 1,500 course participants, and now they only have 3. So I think as much as you might think that you hate something like Xero for doing this, the world is going in this direction anyway. It's not if we don't disrupt this space, other technology, other apps and services will. And this is the way it's going. Sorry.
To that point,
yes,
we need an online learning platform that the universities and the education facilities can roll out, which we struggle to tap into.
Yeah, I agree. So. That, or there just needs to be a program where they can get access to Xero to utilise as part of their courses.
Yeah, which was
interweave.
I think when it comes to training though and technology, it moves so fast, and you implement some training like module and then it changes.
I was literally asked a question about this before. How do you stay on top of all of the technology and everything that comes around the corner? And I was saying, my response to that was, for starters, the short answer is I don't stay on top of it. I do feel very lucky to work for a technology business which essentially provides, when we're moving forward in a particular area, I get given a lot of information. But the longer answer is that you actually don't want to be on top of all of the technology and everything. A lot of it, comes, with this huge kind of fanfare, if you know what I mean, and everybody thinks, oh my God, this is going to destroy our lives, or it's going to change our lives, or whatever, and then most of it fizzles. The stuff that's really important and where you should kind of put your lens in terms of all of the technology that's around is if you feel like it will change your life for the better and actually have a massive impact either on your business or on you as an individual, that's where you should be focused, rather than trying to get across all of the noise that's sort of, floating around everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would rather train somebody how to read data, how to interpret data, and how to ensure that the end person understands where their business is at, rather than how to input an invoice into a software when you have automation there already that's going to do it for you.
100%. If you could sit down with a client, I mean, Heather, you would be the same, right? This is
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's where I want to sit. Accounting.
Yeah.
That's actually accounting. Yeah.
Accounting and business advisory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Koren, for joining us on the Cloud Stories podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. How can people get in contact with you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Koren Wines, and contact me that way.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
thank you.
The pink ladies, I love it.
Hi, Zach. Welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast.
Hey, Heather. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. So exciting to see you in Singapore. Can you share with our listeners who you are and where you're from?
My name's Zach Hayes. I'm the Managing Director of the Business and Wealth Collective. So I run a group of 4 accounting firms across New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. And the reason why I'm here in Singapore is obviously to learn more about ESG and the different techniques in terms of being able to put that out to clients in Australia, but also the adoption of technology here. There's such a diverse range that we don't see in the Australian market, so it's really cool to learn about it and take it back home.
Excellent. We're having a really good time here. What are you talking about in your sessions at the conference?
So the main aim of the game in terms of what I'm talking about is workplace culture. And I think as CFOs, we get so lost in the granular, we get so lost in KPIs and productivity and reporting that we forget that we have a people-first mentality now. The changing landscape and the way that we need to be C-suite operators has changed. So it's important that I guess I'm trying to address what the industry maybe really needs, and that's where we have a people-first mentality when it comes to systems and technology.
When you're getting tied up with the work and the deadlines and trying to get things done in the day, like we all do, how do you then address the team and the culture?
It's hard because we have a hybrid system, so each firm has its own unique culture in a way, and we've deliberately done that rather than having a big brand. So each team and the way I address it's differently, including even the way that when I sit as a VCFO, I actually address that differently within the internal teams. So it comes down to their values and their culture, rather than me saying this is the way it needs to be. I have an incredible support team. I have a PA that runs my life and is also my power of attorney, Levine. I wouldn't be able to adult without her. And I always say that. I also place operational directors in place in my accounting firms. So Laura, my business partner who runs my original firm, HA Accounting, she does a phenomenal job. So I don't sort of get caught up in the granular of the workflows and the day-to-days. That way I can focus in on strategies and where I excel best and my strengths.
So basically you are putting all the people in the right places so that everybody can focus on the bit that's relevant, so that everything basically ticks all the boxes.
100%. So in terms of, I guess, how I chose to sort of restructure my organisation a few years ago is I used, and I'm going to talk on it today, is the EBITDA model that Rachel Powell created. So when I first looked at building out the team, it came down to engagement. So it's not just purpose, it's actually strengths of myself and strengths of our team and where our weaknesses are, and we collectively can function better as individuals, being in places where we're naturally dominant in, versus also the team understanding where each individual strength lies. Sometimes when we do those disc profilings and we do the personality traits, it's amazing how all of a sudden we've got actually a star leader that we didn't know. And so therefore we're able to empower them and then engage them a lot better. So it comes down to, and look, it's not perfect. There's certainly I'll talk about it today. If we take a snapshot in time, and I think a lot of CFO work, we tend to do that. We go, all right, we've hit the nail on the head. I talk about culture being like a running movie. So to get to that state of flourishing and where everyone's working really well together, just because we've nailed it today doesn't mean that it's going to be the same tomorrow. So we've got so many external factors that are happening that we need to be aware of, that we need to go, okay, well, how do we keep going back to that constant state of flourishing and rebuilding?
So we're here in Singapore. What was it that made you invest in the time to come here to Singapore?
Some really good humans like yourself, Heather, and Sarah Lawrence. You guys, I've seen you and watched your journeys over the last few years as well. And I guess having that connection to I guess, some really cool industry leaders and hearing that, you do get that diversity, you get that range that you just don't see in the Australian market sometimes. And so, for me, it's also stepping outside my boundaries as a leader and going, how do I improve? What's my next steps? And I think that's probably giving back to the industry, but not in the stereotypical sense. I want to really do impactful stuff like, with my CFO work, I want to pick companies that are doing amazing things in the world and go, how do I empower them to be better? And that comes from diversity and really throwing myself in an inclusion perspective and being part of it.
I love that. And like I'm always on the mantra of the diversity here is so incredibly exciting, and diversity pushes our industry forward.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that is the exact same reasons why I end up traveling around the world, because I just want to learn from the best, and I want to understand how to implement, the best systems, the processes, the technology, and understand how other people are running their businesses. And again, just the sheer experience that I've got from just coming to conferences and meeting amazing people like yourself, Zach. We met in the UK in Accountex. And it's just it's also very inspirational to see how other people have moved their practices along the way.
It's really exciting, and I think everyone's got their own unique journey. And I think in Australia in particular, we had, I guess, a real traditional mindset on how we went about practice work. And even when we talk about, CFO services, a lot of the same cookie cutter approach was coming out, and that's just definitely not me. I talk about my mentality of blowing things up and putting them back together, and I want to do that. And I think the only way, like you said, is to actually throw yourself out, get different experiences, and that comes from that diversity. So my partner's Brazilian, so I'm lucky and fortunate enough that I get so much different culture even at my home environment. I'm so used to not actually probably being still and having this stable environment. I'm so used to it constantly adapting all the time and communicating around boundaries, which hopefully I take that to work. And I like to think my learning trajectory as a leader in the industry and also internally with clients, it's certainly an ever-evolving process. And I'm really excited to, as I said, learn more here and take that back and hopefully make a bit more of an impact at home.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach, for joining us on the show. I know we're going to let you get ready for your session, which we'll come and look forward to listening to. How can our listeners get in contact with you, Zach?
Mainly LinkedIn. So we are across, I guess, on socials and all those sort of things, but I'd say LinkedIn's probably the primary one that you can reach out and certainly have a bit of a conversation. And I do try and get around to a lot of the industry events, in even regional Australia. So, always, if you see me at an event, I'm not scary. Come up and say hello.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Zach Hayes, for joining us on the Cloud Stories podcast.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
Awesome.
That was amazing.
Yeah, you're great. Thank you. We'll let you go and clear your brain for your talk.
Yes.
Hello, would you be interested in doing a podcast?
With the Cloud Stories podcast.
Hello. Hi, what's your name? And what company do you represent today?
Yeah, my name is Vikash Bengani and I'm representing Carbon Balance.
So what does Carbon Balance do?
We help online brands and e-commerce merchants to measure and calculate the footprint of a customer's basket, and we provide an option to the customer to offset that footprint.
Okay, wow. So does it connect to accounting platforms?
As of now, it's not integrated with the accounting platforms. We provide a plugin which gets integrated with the online store, which is built on Shopify and WooCommerce for these e-commerce merchants.
Okay, that's amazing. And if I wanted to implement Carbon Balance, how do I go about doing that?
So our plugins are available on the App Store of Shopify and WooCommerce. It takes brands less than 10 minutes to integrate it with their e-store. It's available free of cost. And for customers, it is less than 5 seconds to make a decision once they have chosen the products that they are buying, to make a decision on offsetting. And make the payment along with the price for the products which they are buying.
Right, okay. And how long has Carbon Balance been going for?
We started on this journey early of 2023, and the first few months were used to build the solution for Shopify and WooCommerce. So it's been 1.5 months since we have launched those plugins on the app stores.
Wow, so that's really, really early days.
Yes.
And are you looking for investors, or are you self-funded, bootstrapping?
We have raised a small pre-seed round. Now we are looking to raise our seed round.
Oh, and that's amazing. And so do you just operate in Singapore, or are you in other countries?
We are based in Singapore, but Shopify and WooCommerce have customers all over the world. And since we are on the App Store of Shopify and WooCommerce, theoretically we are serving the globe.
So you're just basically a global company
Yes.
from the beginning.
Yes.
That's amazing. And if people wanted to get in touch with you and implement Carbon Balance, what do they need to do?
So as I mentioned, the app is available on the App Store at Shopify and WooCommerce. But if they need any help with integration, we are there at carbonbalance.co.
Okay, amazing. And Heather, do you have any questions?
I'm unclear who's paying and how are you making money out of this?
So end of the day, it depends on the brand whether they want to make the contribution or whether they want the customers to make the contribution, or it could be split between the brand or the customer. And the platform is available for free. We take a small commission out of the contribution which is made for the offset projects.
Amazing. I'm definitely keen to, have a go and see what it does. It's an area that, we're all looking into to make sure that we are offsetting our carbon footprint,
Yes.
especially in today and all the climate changes. So I think it's definitely a product that I'm glad that we've come over to have a conversation with yourself. And yeah, I look forward to seeing it grow and how you launch the product in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much for speaking on the podcast.
Thanks.
Hello, welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast. Can you share with us who you are and where you're from?
I'm Erik Ingvoldstad. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Careera. Careera is an unbiased hiring platform.
It's a unbiased, I missed that.
Unbiased hiring platform.
Hiring platform. Okay, can you explain how it works then? Because I think
So
being
if you-
unbiased is very, very important in
Right.
the hiring process.
So if you're a hiring company, you put out your job ads, you get 100 applicants, which you have to go through. And then through that process, you're dependent on each hiring manager's own biases in that process. What we do instead is that we take those 100 candidates, we use assessments and AI to reduce it to the 10 best candidates. And those 10 best candidates are presented without any information about gender or ethnicity or age or any of that, so that we can kind of help them operationalize diversity and inclusion, at the same time reducing the amount of work they have to do. And this is not keyword search, this is advanced algorithms going through every single line item on that person's CV, and the assessments that we do, so personality testing, cognitive testing, and then we match that to the job opportunity.
That is fascinating. AI in itself potentially has bias built into it. So how are you ensuring there is no bias in it?
So number one is we do not collect information about personality, other than your personality traits. We do not collect information about your gender or your age or any of that. So when you don't put that information into AI, it's hard for the AI to utilize that information. So that's important. And the second thing is that our assessments are made neutral. So we don't ask questions that can figure out who you are.
Do you know how to bake a cake? Those sorts of questions.
Exactly. I didn't say that.
And so in terms of people like completing the application using ChatGPT.
Right. So there is no job application on our platform. You simply upload your CV, you do some assessments on the phone, and that's it. We don't have job applications.
So somebody who is completing their CV, they're probably or more than likely to use ChatGPT today. So how does it recognise a authentic CV as opposed to a ChatGPT CV?
No, that's a great question. So we take all the CVs that we get in, we actually break them down anyway. We take out all that fluff information and we just focus on the line items. What have you done? Where did you work? Those kind of things. And then we calculate, has that any bearing to that job that we're matching you against? And then we say yes or no. So it's a point-based system, and it's like a strength-based system. We don't kind of go, or we build people up. Yeah.
Who do you think your clients are going to be?
So we've actually changed who we're going for. We started doing both sides of this, where we kind of are getting the candidates and the companies. Now we're focusing on the companies, and the only companies who are really interested in this are the larger companies. The idea of operationalizing DEI is not interesting for smaller companies, but we know that the big companies are really struggling to find ways of practically doing this, not just talking about it. It's like sustainability. We can talk about it for ages, but until you do something, it really doesn't matter.
Look, I completely agree. Everyone says DEI, but it's a superficial window painting. It's actually not happening in many, many cases. Is there an opportunity to kind of partner up with, there's a lot of employment solutions out there that are not offering this, that you can offer it as a thin layer around them?
Yeah. We could, and we're not opposed to solutions like that. Right now we kind of build because all of these application tracking systems, they're not built for the future, in my opinion. So we built this from ground up. So we can't call it application tracking system because it's no application, but it's a candidate tracking system, and that's all built. So if I interview someone, you interview someone, we have a common scoring system, so that we score on the same things, so that we can then present out of the 10 candidates that we gave you in the first round, we can now say this is your number 1 candidate, this is number 2 candidate, based on those interviews that you performed. So we can integrate with others, but right now we're kind of going standalone.
You talked about the process and uploading CVs. What about video?
So right now we don't do video, but we will shortly. We've had it on our roadmap since day one. The challenge that we have, we don't want to present candidates until there's a match between the two parties. So the candidate has to say this is an interesting job, and the company has to say this is an interesting candidate. That's the first time we can release information about who you are. So that will be when you could see interview. So we could do we'll do a pre-interview. Like ask questions, like 6 questions that you just answer on your phone, and then the company can see those upfront.
Where are you based, and whereabouts does your system work?
Right. So we're based in Singapore. We're a Singaporean company. We started out saying, okay, we're going to focus on Singapore, then we're going to go to Australia and a few other markets after that. Right now, though, because we're doing larger companies and our platform is already built for multilingual, we can do any company in the world as long as they have a certain size of their candidate pipeline. So if they hire, let's say they hire more than 200-300 people a year, we can start working with them. If they hire 1 or 2 candidates a year, go on LinkedIn. It's fine. You can find us.
So I went to Recfest this year for the first time, which is the biggest European HR festival in the UK. So I'm from the UK, and I met many software companies that do something kind of similar. And one of the companies spoke about how the candidates will
upload their information, and the company's looking at that candidate information and trying to see and identify whether they're going to be a right fit. What they were doing is implementing a system where the team from the company put their videos on and talk about the company. So it's from the other way round. And so is that something that you are doing?
I wish I could show you my entire UX now, because that's obviously in our UX. Not individually, but like a team video or like a why should I work for you? So employer branding, I think there's a lot of employer branding that's happening before people are considering but actually the real employer branding has to happen when people are considering working for that company. That's when you should hit them with those messages, and I think it's a great opportunity. So we built in that there's an opportunity for companies to upload their own videos and can share with them. So yeah, that's great.
Sure, because I mean, if I wanted to join a company, then I would want to know who my colleagues are going to be.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think the future now is to really, we're spending much more I used to say this, it's like you have three things in your life that are important. You have your family, you have your friends, and work is number three. That's your colleagues, that's the people that you surround yourself with every day. I think people who find jobs that they are a good fit for, and they enjoy the environment and they enjoy the people, they're going to stay in those jobs longer. They're going to perform better in those jobs. I think we're not putting enough attention onto these hiring practices. We're just kind of bums on seat kind of approach, and that's not a good way to do it.
I think we're recruiting a different mold of personality in today's world, especially after COVID, remote working, flexibility, and the person essentially wants to have a role where it's flexible and they want to travel and do all these amazing things. So I think to have a product that can identify this type of person, and equally for the employers to identify people that are going to be the right fit for their business, something like a Careera would help.
This idea of right fit. What does right fit mean, right? And that there's some bias coming in there as well. People are have a tendency to hire the same people as themselves. That's not necessarily the right fit. What we've learned is that retail is a very interesting area for us. Because if you work as a sales assistant somewhere, personality comes into play and becomes really important in how you deal with things. So yeah.
I find the whole thing fascinating. So thank you so much for talking with us.
I appreciate it.
How can people get in contact with you, Erik?
Careera.io or find Erik Ingvoldstad at LinkedIn.
So that is CAREERA.io.
That's correct. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you for joining us on the Cloud Stories podcast.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was really interesting.
You've been listening to the Cloud Stories podcast. Hopefully the editing in there was not too rough. I did edit it quite quickly, but hopefully you found it enjoyable episode. I'm sure people will let me know if I let anything get through the gates there. Please join the Xero Mastermind group, which is a free group, and we like talking about accounting apps and advanced modern practices in there. Please join please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to the Accounting Apps newsletter. A lot of people came up to me and told me that the Accounting Apps newsletter had really helped them in their business understand what was happening in the accounting technology world. So if you subscribe to the Accounting Apps newsletter, thank you so much for listening. It always helps if you leave us a 5-star review, but no one ever does. Except for those 8 people who do. I'm not very good at pushing it, but if you've got the moment and leave us a 5-star review, that would be sensational. Thank you so much to my wonderful co-host, Alex Falcon-Harata. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. Her digital nomad talk is fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. And as someone myself who travels extensively for work, I've learnt a lot from it as well. So I would encourage you to reach out and fly her to your next conference so she can give that talk and inspire the next generation. Thank you.